Israel has said that any violation of the ceasefire agreement by Hezbollah will be met with fire. IDF spokesperson Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari said that Israeli forces on Wednesday engaged armed militants and killed them while enforcing the agreement. Hagari showed a map of the area in southern Lebanon where Israeli forces are still operating and called on the Lebanese residents not to return until informed.
The IDF is acting carefully. Any violation will be met with fire. IDF sources are still taking positions in southern Lebanon in villages and areas where there will be a gradual withdrawal according to the agreement. The Air Force planes are still hovering over the skies of Lebanon, gathering intelligence and ready to act as needed.
Israeli Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Halevi said IDF forces will hit Hezbollah operatives who approach the troops, the border area and the villages within the area marked by the forces.
The activity in Lebanon was very determined, and the enforcement of the agreement will be even more determined. With determination, according to the guidelines approved yesterday by the Minister of Defense, the Prime Minister and the Cabinet, Hezbollah operatives who will approach our troops, the border area and the villages within the area we have marked will be struck.
Meanwhile, tens of thousands of Lebanese displaced by the war between Israel and Hezbollah headed back to their devastated towns and villages as a ceasefire took hold. Under the terms of the deal that brought the war to a halt, the Lebanese military started reinforcing its presence in the country's south, where Hezbollah has long held sway. On the other hand, in its first statement since a truce between the two sides took effect, Lebanese militant group Hezbollah said it has achieved victory over Israel. The Iran-backed group added that Hezbollah fighters will remain in total readiness to deal with Israel's ambitions and its attacks. In Gaza, an airstrike killed 9 people in the north as Israel kept up its bombardment. According to Gaza Health Ministry, the strike hit a shelter for displaced people in Al-Tabayin school in Gaza City's Daraj district. Now, the Israeli army said that it eliminated a suspect in a May 2002 bombing which injured 10 civilians in the Israeli city of Beersheba. IDF said it also struck dozens of Hamas targets in the combat zone in the northern towns of Jabalia and Beit Lahiya. The army claimed during the operation, Hamas operatives fired anti-tank missiles from the Indonesian hospital at the troops. Furthermore, relatives of hostages held for over a year in the Gaza Strip blocked the entrance to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's Knesset office on Wednesday. They demanded that he meet with them and promote a hostage deal to free their loved ones. U.S. National Security Advisor said President Joe Biden will launch a renewed drive for a Gaza ceasefire and hostage release deal. Jake Sullivan said Hamas is facing increased pressure to cut a deal now that Lebanon's Hezbollah group is no longer fighting in solidarity with the Palestinian militant group. Now, in a poll released by Israel's Channel 12, Prime Minister Netanyahu's current bloc is projected to be failing to secure a majority in the Knesset. Parties backing the current government are expected to secure 51 seats, while opposition parties will hold 69 in the 120 members Israeli parliament. According to this poll, loss of 7 seats expected for Netanyahu's Likud party, even though it retains the status as the biggest party with 25 projected seats. The survey conducted by Midgam Consulting also gauged views on the Lebanon ceasefire. 37% respondents backed it, 32% opposed it, while 31% were undecided. All right, for more on this, we are now being joined by our correspondent, Jody Cohen, who's joining me from Renana in Israel. Hi, Jody. The ceasefire between Hezbollah and Israel seems rather fragile at this point, given the kind of hostilities which have been on in this region ever since the 7th of October, since last year. What are the expectations in Israel at this point from this ceasefire?
Hi, Shivan. Yes, it's certainly fragile at this stage. I would say it's very sensitive. The IDF said that 4 Hezbollah operatives were detained after they approached no-go zones in South Lebanon, and Hezbollah in those areas is in violation of the truce agreement. Israel's Defense Minister Katz said that if Hezbollah's attempts to violate the agreement continue and the Lebanese government doesn't fulfill its obligations, that Israel won't compromise on the safety of its residents and is prepared to respond strongly. Now, IDF Chief Herzi Halevi, I should say, said that the enforcement of the truce will be even more determined than the offensive against Hezbollah. And Lebanon said that the Lebanese army have begun to move back into South Lebanon. Now, in accordance with the agreement, IDF spokesperson Daniel Hagari suggested that there would be a gradual return of Lebanese civilians to South Lebanon. For now, Israeli civilians who are displaced have been told not to return to their homes. Katz defended the restrictions in northern Gaza as a cautionary step, calling it a clear message of Israel's intention to enforce the agreement. But there is certainly a debate going on in Israel about whether or not this ceasefire is even a good idea, particularly the idea that there's no buffer zone between Israel and Lebanon, and residents in northern Israel don't feel at the moment that it's safe to return home.
Jody, with a Lebanon deal in place, in whichever sensitive manner it is in place at this point, focus is now on Gaza. What are you hearing about a potential ceasefire between Hamas and Israel? Is that on the cards? Is that possible now?
So you mentioned the fact that the rallies are ongoing, and I just want to mention that today is Thanksgiving in America, and there are 7 American hostages as well amongst the 101 hostages being held in Gaza. And the families of the 7 American hostages say that this is the second Thanksgiving without their loved ones, and are calling on the Biden and Trump administrations and the Israeli government to work together to secure a hostage release deal. Now, President Biden announced a fresh push for a ceasefire and hostage deal in Gaza, and an Egyptian delegation is taking mediation efforts forward. We were hearing that they were going to be arriving yesterday in Israel. Now we're hearing that they're arriving today, so we'll of course keep you updated on that as we hear more. Prime Minister Netanyahu suggested that the ceasefire with Hezbollah would isolate and put pressure on Hamas and could lead to a deal. And Hamas has now informed mediators that it's ready to negotiate. Now, a US proposal would end the war with the release of all the hostages and Hamas no longer ruling Gaza. And Biden suggested that this is Hamas's only way out.
All right, Jody, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. You've comprehensively summed up exactly what is going on at this point, but things remain sensitive. There will be lots to track as it develops further. Thank you for getting us. That was Jody Cohen getting us the latest from Renana.